So I've had my Pixel, have to get the name right, right? It's the Google Pixel 6 Pro. I've had it for a little over 24 hours now, and I figure it's time to tell you what my first impressions are, right? Because you want them hot off the press, right? Hot off the griddle, however you like them. So I'm going to talk about, what it's been like to get it set up, moving all my stuff over, and getting used to the new phone, some things I've noticed, that type of thing. So let's dive in, shall we? Where's my magic button? There's my magic button. Okay, so hello everyone. The first day or so with your new phone is always a bit of an adventure, right? Is it going to live up to your expectations? Is it going to fulfill all of your dreams? Probably not. But hopefully it's going to fulfill your tech phone needs. So I've got multiple phones here. I got to make sure I'm grabbing the right one. I've had my Google Pixel 6 Pro for just over 24 hours now. It arrived early because all the information I had gotten was that it was going to ship today. So I did not think I'd have it for today's show. I had something else planned, but that's okay. We can do that later. So it came yesterday afternoon, which was a nice surprise in a week that I needed a good surprise, so that worked out well. So of course I immediately jumped in and got it rolling, as one does. And I figured that, now that I've had some time with it, it's, real use time. I've been trying to wean myself off of my old phone. Basically, I did that by putting it in a drawer for most of the day to get myself using the new one. And I thought it was a good time to kind of like walk through the process and what my thoughts are and all that kind of good stuff. So I thought we would dive in on this. Hello, everybody who is hanging out. I appreciate you swinging by. So as you know, this is phone season, right? All of the new phones I think have been announced and or are shipping by now, which is a good thing because the holiday season, the timing is not a mistake. Don't assume that for a minute. They're doing this on purpose. And so Google's come out with two phones, and here we can look at them. Here, I should take my name off. So there's the Pro, which is the big phone, and the Pixel 6, which is slightly smaller. The industry and me were all quite surprised at the price because we were expecting that they were going to be over $1,000. And I apologize now. I know I'm looking in the wrong place a lot. I'm installing a teleprompter, and so I'm trying to get used to the new orientation. So I'll apologize in advance. I do see that you're there. Hello. So yeah, that was a nice bonus to find out that that was an option for us. And the whole reason I did this, so it is not normal for me to buy a new phone the year after I got a new phone. So I got the 5 last year because my previous phone, the 2, was falling apart. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this phone. This is a fabulous phone. The only problem I have with it, and here I can show you, the only problem I have with it is size, okay? I like a big phone. And I thought I was going to be able to adjust, and after a year I can tell you, no, I didn't. I really, really needed a bigger phone. Now, phablets, whatever you want to call them, doesn't really matter. The fact is, for me, the phone is not a phone, right? I don't really make phone calls. I avoid phone calls. I'm an introvert. I don't need that. I use it as an extra computer, which is why I need the bigger phone, because I actually do things on it. I work in applications. I do that. I've even coded, fixed coding from my phone. So when I say I'm using it like a computer, that's not just a euphemism. I'm really using it like a computer. So I need the screen space. And I just found myself getting so frustrated with a smaller phone. Now, like I said, there's nothing wrong with this one, and it's going to live on probably here in the studio, serving a purpose of some sort. But that's the only reason I did it. And, it's a very first world problem. I understand that totally. But the fact of the matter is, I rely on my phone for a lot of things, and I need it to work for me. And that's really the criteria that I recommend anybody uses when they are deciding on a phone or whether or not they need a new one is it working for you now? Is it driving you crazy? Is it making your life harder or easier? These are, for me, the important points. If you're going to spend money on technology, it should help you. It should make your life easier, ideally. Or if it's not doing that, it should be helping you to attain some goal that you've got set. That's a big thing. See, Marcus is one of us. I wasn't sure if I was the only one in the crowd tonight, but yes. I know people who, still make phone calls they've learned not to do that with me, or if they want to, then, let me introduce you to my answering service, because yes, but it's just not for me. Everybody gets to do their own thing. That's fine. But for me, nope, not the way I want to go. So let's just we'll start off from the very beginning. Where is my overhead shot? So I've got the 2 boxes here. Yeah, I guess when you mess around with your studio, things happen. Okay, so the first thing you'll notice, this is a little blown out, but this is the Pixel 5 box, and this is the Pixel 6 Pro box. From this position, it almost looks like they're the same, but it actually, the Pro box is slightly bigger. Let me get them as lined up as I can here. Yeah, so it's slightly bigger. This was a lot of extra packaging, which you can see here. Okay, so the 5 was a lot of extra packaging, whereas the Pixel Pro, I gotta get it back in the picture here, was just the packaging that it needed. So I just thought that was interesting, because they're very good on branding, though. The brand is always there. It was such a dramatic difference. I didn't even realize when the box came with this for the delivery, I didn't realize what it was, because it was so small. It wasn't exactly what I was planning on. But other than that, here, I'll just try to pop it open here. It's a tight fit box, I'll tell you that. Oops. All right, we can get the garbage out of the way, but I'm using the cord, so you won't see that, but it was very basic. Okay, the phone was sitting on top of it. It had this cover on the screen. It's got like a slightly sticky side here, and then this was smooth. Even came with a little pull tab, so in case you weren't sure how to get it off, because sometimes they make those harder than it needs to be. Little instruction book. Please, folks, RTFM. Somebody worked hard on this. The usual warranty stuff. This, please make sure you don't throw this away, because, if you have an actual physical SIM card, this does make your life easier. This is how you get the SIM cards in and out. The SIM card is the only input you have on this, other than, like, the power. And then it's got the adapter, and then the cord was wrapped around here. So that was it. It was pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Booted up nice right away, all that kind of good stuff. Let me put this in here. I like to keep all the pieces, because you never know. Stuff happens. And it makes me happy. I did think this was funny. The little cutout here. Let's see, can I get enough shadow on this so you can see it? This is the little cutout for the camera. The little camera bump on the back. I thought that was funny. They custom made that. So that was a nice touch. So that's what came in the box. Nothing extra, no headset or anything, but we'll talk about that in a minute for the other people out there who did the pre-orders like I did, because there's a little confusion. So we want to get that. Do I RTFM? Oh, I absolutely RTFM, and there's a good reason for that. I RTFM because in one of the many jobs I've had in my life has been tech writer. And even though I haven't had the title for a very long time, I still end up doing it a lot of the time. So heck yes, I RTFM. That tends to be how I learn. I tend to learn best from books and written materials. Then maybe I go to a video for some like backup or detail. But for me, it's always been books. So yes, I'm 100% RTFM. Oh, okay. And Sammy's telling us that yes, he's the one person who makes phone calls. He's not the only one, but yes, I know that there are people out there, and that's fine. Different strokes and all that. All right, so let me get this set up so again I can kind of help you visualize the size difference. Okay, because that was it for me. Like, that was the only reason I absolutely needed to get this phone. Now, the other thing that I should probably mention is it doesn't really impact anything directly. Sorry, I'm just trying to get some of the fingerprints off. I am a Google Fi user because it just works for me. Like, it gives me the coverage I need where I need it. Okay, so we go to this. So this is just to give you a bit of a comparison. Let me get them try to lined up at the bottom here. Okay, so this one is the Pixel 2 XL, which I'd had for years. This was my replacement for the Pixel 1. This was another example of when I had to replace it the year after, because the Pixel 1 I had, it died on me. They replaced it, and then after the warranty ran out, it replaced that, and then they wouldn't replace it again, so I had to get the 2. Bad thing about that was then the 2 lasted to just short of the warranty, and then it died. So they gave me a replacement, which is what this is. But this particular phone was never quite stable enough for me. I don't know if it was the particular device or if it was the whole release, but that's what it is. But this is just here for scale because this was the big phone I had before I went to this, which is the 5. So you can see it's squat. It's shorter. And you can see that the 6 Pro is much bigger. My expectation was it was going to be pretty much this size, but it's definitely bigger. The other thing that surprised me about this phone, I didn't notice it during the announcements. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this here, but the edge is sort of wrapped around, kind of like the Samsung edges, if you ever saw those. Like both sides are kind of rounded over, as opposed to being, squared off like these folks are. Doesn't impact me one way or the other. It was just an interesting thing to notice. Because, again, I wasn't expecting it. I didn't notice it from the announcement and the demos that it had that nice little touch to it. So there was that. I will say that the first thing that I have noticed about this one, now, it always makes me nervous when I get the phone before the case that I ordered. And in this case, it's really making me nervous because this little bugger is slippery. I mean, it's got, it's very shiny, right, on the back and the front and all that, and the sides because of the curve and all that, I'm guessing, maybe. But I'm terrified. I've already dropped this thing, fortunately, just like onto the sofa, but the case can't get here fast enough. And the problem is the Google case that I ordered, I'm not going to see that for weeks. So I jumped on Amazon yesterday just to buy a cheap case because I want something a little grippier because, the only way that this could be more slippery is if it was coated in butter. I mean, it's really, really not something that wants to stick in your hand. So there's that. The other thing that I noticed right off, over time. So I got it, did the install just off of the power that was on. It had a pretty good charge on it still. I think it was about 55% when I took it out of the box. So I got it all set up and then I charged it up to 100 and then I unplugged it. So that was, a little later, probably an hour or two after I started playing with it, after it first got here. Then it hasn't been plugged in since. And we are at 53%. So I'm already pretty impressed because I have never gotten that from these guys. Okay, the other ones, yeah, they always needed to be topped off during the day. Now, again, I am a heavy phone user. I'm using it as a computer. So, I mean, you could also call it slightly abusive on the battery because I'm using stuff and I've got a lot of stuff going on and I'm switching back and forth between apps. So it's pretty intense stuff. Now, I think I haven't really done anything on the old phone other than just maybe play with it a little bit. And I've been comparing, which we'll get into in a minute. So I've really used this phone like I'm going to use this phone. So this was a realistic test of a typical 24-hour period. And I'm, it's bigger, which means that they can get a bigger battery in it. So that's all a win. And I think the pre-release information about the battery life being better, right now I'm seeing that because I've got a whole day. It's 50%. I could probably go maybe another day if I was really careful, certainly half a day. So I'm going to let it just go. I want to see how long it takes for it to run out. I have a feeling that when I wake up tomorrow, it's probably going to be about 20% and I'm going to need to charge it because I start to get nervous around there. So there was that. The other thing that I noticed is that it's heavy. It's heavier than I expected. Now, I thought this was heavy, and they're probably comparable when you factor in the size of them. But, I guess this one compared to this one, so this is the 2XL compared to the 6 Pro. This feels like a toy phone now because it's so much lighter than this one is. Of course, the battery was not good on this, so maybe that's why. I think it's a safe bet. If you're curious about the Pixel phones, you can go to the website. Obviously, they've got all the information about the 6. You can get all the details. But the other thing that I found really cool was the fact that they've got this comparison page. So now you can come in, and of course it defaults to the most recent phones. And you can do a side-by-side for size and features and all that kind of stuff. But you can absolutely come up here and say, okay, well, maybe I want to compare it to something else. Now, what I find funny is that they've got things listed in here that they don't even sell anymore. Okay, so like, the original Pixel XL, which I had too, is no longer available. But it's kind of cool that you can go back and see the specs. But if you're curious and you're not sure what you want and you're into reading specs, I mean, this is sort of a geeky thing. But like for me, I was like, oh, this is cool. So you could go back and see, but like a lot of these phones that you're comparing against aren't available. Actually, it looks like maybe that's the only one. Now, that said, just because a phone is listed here as not being available doesn't necessarily mean you can't get it. It just means that you would have to go get it at like, either a refurb, or somebody who's selling an old one that they had. So it's not that they're not, vaporized from the market. So it's useful information still. It was just funny to see like, all this stuff when really there's only, a couple of the phones actually available. And of course, as I'm sure you've heard if you've been monitoring this at all, but getting the new phones is next to impossible. I didn't actually get the one I wanted. Oh, we've gone to, right, because it's buy and not pre-order. Oh, wait, I'm looking at this and you're not. These boxes here, so there's three ways to buy. One is the unlocked, which is what I got. One is through Verizon. One is through Google Fi. These out of stocks keep changing, right? Every time I come in here, either they're all out of stock or some of them are out of stock because it's a very fluid situation. But, for example, here, if you come in, you may or may not be able to, so yeah, it's a fluid situation by far because every time I come in here, things are available or not. If you put it in, sometimes you get as far as the cart and then it says it's not available anymore. So it's worth refreshing if you are trying to get one. I did not actually get the phone I wanted, the exact phone I wanted. I wanted to get the biggest one, right? Because one of the things that we've lost over the years, thanks Apple, is, the audio jack, but also the ability to put in SD cards. So space is at a premium. The 5 was a 128. I was constantly getting messages that it was running out of space. I wanted to get the 512 for this. I couldn't, so I went with the 256 because that was the only one I could get my hands on. It'll probably be okay because it's double at least. But if I'd had any choice in the world, that's what I was going to go for. When they do come back into stock, if you're watching this much later than the release week, the black one, as of this moment in time, was the only one that came as the 512, and it wasn't available if you went in through the Google Fi store. So that's one of the games I was playing the day that it was actually announced. Was I was hitting the Google Fi shop and I was hitting the Google store itself to see if I could get in through one door or the other. It was unbelievably, it was like, this is a very localized reference, but it was like buying Bruce Springsteen tickets in New Jersey, right? I mean, you got all the phones going in the computers and you're dialing and you're trying everything to try to get those tickets. That's exactly what this felt like. I hadn't had that feeling in a while. When I did get through on the Google Fi side of things, the 512 wasn't even an option. So the 512 at that point at least was only an option through the Google store itself. Still didn't get it. But yeah, that's the way it goes. All right, so let me see before I go on if you have any other questions before I get into the other details. Yes, Sammy's breaking the grade curve by making phone calls. Is there a headphone jack? No, there is not. No, there is not. That makes me sad, but there is no headphone jack. I don't know if you can see. Probably not. I mean, the black on black is a little hard to see. All we've got is the charging point. It's got the buttons are all on the one side again. That's always a challenge for me with these things because in my car I use a clamp stand and I have to be very careful because I have a tendency to catch the bottom button, which then turns off the audio, which makes the navigation not so helpful. So yeah, no headphone jack. I'm not happy about that. And yes, I blame Apple because they think, oh, we're going to take all the stuff away. You don't need it. And it's like, thanks. Really glad everybody followed that train. Hopefully the door will swing the other way one of these days. I also miss being able to change the battery, but I'll spare you that rant. All right. I should, because I realized I didn't do this yet, but I should introduce myself for anybody who's hitting this cold. My name is Kathleen. I'm here as your tech coach. Technology is my day gig and my hobby, so I have accumulated a fair amount of knowledge, which my friends, neighbors, and coworkers turn to for advice and information. I realize not everybody has that option, so I come here and do the show. You are always welcome to swing by and ask other questions, but I always bring a topic every week. So that's why we're here. Okay, so let's get back into the good stuff. Getting set up. So, as one would imagine, and was the case, once again, it's a breeze to move from, one phone to the other as far as all of your Google related stuff, right? So your messages, your contact lists, anything that says Google, whatever, your photos, all of that is seamless. You do it, you set it up. They've gone to, it used to be a wireless process, but what they did was they had me connect the two phones with in this case was USB-C to USB-C, and it did it that way, which was much faster. So I'm pro that idea. So that all worked fine. All the applications that I had on my previous phone got moved over. They were all laid out the same way. So on the different pages, so you can swipe through the different groupings I had built out. They all carried across. That was all seamless. As you would expect, like not every app was set up, already. So a lot of that's what I've been doing as far as comparison. So I've been for the past 24 hours opening an app on the new phone. Okay, shoot, it doesn't have the setup, so let me go here. Okay, what was my code for this? Or some of them you can do the QR code to make the connection. So I'm probably 90% of the way there. I'm sure in the next couple of days I'm going to hit an app that I just forgot to set up with the IDs and passwords, and that'll be fine. But other than that, it's been okay. So yeah, transferring your Google stuff from one Android phone to another, slam dunk, not a problem. The rest of it, it's there, so you don't have to remember to go put it there. That's sort of a mixed bag for me, because sometimes changing phones is a good time to kind of clean house on apps that you're not using anymore. So that, now it's on us to actually clean their house ourselves. So, okay, I'm okay with that. But yeah, as far as, it's funny how some of them, the IDs and the passwords came across, some of them don't. I'm sure there's security things or whatever. Who knows? But it's not 100% seamless. So for what it's worth. The other thing that I did want to mention at this point for anybody else that's doing this, and that's not just Pixel phones, but anytime you're doing this, because we're all starting to use two-factor authentication more, which is a good thing, you do want to remember to make sure you carry across your two-factor auth tool, right? I always forget. So I was doing something, I can't remember what it was, something for work, and I needed the code, and I'm like, it's not on the phone. So it's really not a hard process. For most of them, it's just a process of going to your old phone, which hopefully is still handy and works. And there's usually an export option, and then you just follow the instructions, and then you can send it to your new phone, and it'll do the swap for you. But it's really important to do that while you still have the old phone and it's still functional, because it makes it much easier. It's not that you can't do it any other way, it's just a lot easier. So you're going to want to make sure you do that. Also, just as a reminder, you do want to print off the keys that they give you as an option, so that if something doesn't work, you still got those keys that you can use, the one-time thing, just for safety's sake. So there's that. Okay. The other thing that, so really, like I said, I was not looking really to buy a phone other than the fact that I needed a bigger phone. The one thing I'm excited about with this is that finally the Magic Eraser is here. They had, they're saying they didn't promise it. I'm saying they promised it a couple of years ago. They demoed it. It was a part of the big thing, and somehow, it never made it into the release. And then we all assumed that it would just show up in an update at some point because, timelines, and I work in software development, so I know sometimes that, point in time when they're going up on stage and doing things aren't ready, and that's fine. But it never showed up, and they never talked about it again. And all of a sudden, poof, it's here. So I played with it again. I played with it a little bit. Pretty impressed so far. I'm going to find a real good test of it, and then I'll, show you guys. Maybe I'll just do a short video on that. But I'm just excited that it's finally here because I'm sorry, if you don't know what I'm talking about. So the Magic Eraser, actually, I should bring that up. So hang on one second. Let me see if I can bring it up real quick. The Magic Eraser is a piece of Google Magic that is supposed to erase things from your photos that you don't want there. And the example that they showed a couple of years ago, and to be honest, I don't remember if that was the phone launch. It might have been Google I/O that I saw this at, which is the Geek Fest for Google. But the example that they showed for the Magic Eraser was mom and dad sitting at the ball game, watching their kid go up to bat, and they've always got that cage around it, and so they were taking the picture through it, and of course, the camera's having trouble to focus. Is it focusing on the person or the batting cage kind of thing? But they got a picture, but of course then the fence is there. And so the example that they showed was removing that. And now, of course, again, I work in social development. I know that there's an element of smoke and mirrors sometimes in the dog and pony shows. But it was pretty freaking amazing. So I was like, oh, I want to play with that. I want to play with that. And then, of course, it never showed up. So now it's here. And I verified that it's on the phone. I did a little test with it. I've taken like 2 pictures of like autumn leaves with this. So those aren't a really good example, but I will try it. But super excited about that because I like the technology that looks like magic even to me, right? A lot of this stuff, because I do this for a living, is like, oh, okay, they did this and this. This kind of stuff, this is freaking magic. So I'm really excited about that. Again, that would not have been a reason for me to buy the phone, but since I did, it's a nice perk. I'm very excited about it. Oh, you do remember that too. Yeah, because wait, I've got to get this off of here. What is this one? That one? There we go. So you remember the Magic Eraser too, right? Do you remember if it was IO or launch? I can't remember. I should have gone back and looked. Oh, wait, I was going to show you it. Let's see. I'm pretty sure I saw something. Okay, so here's an example. Let me bring this up for you. I can probably pip this if I remember how to do it. Is it this one? No, not that one. Okay, here, we'll do it this way. Yeah, I can't remember. So if you look here, right, so this is your photo. This is the original photo. What's the year on this? Okay, so this is from this year's announcement. now I want to know, which was it? So this is like the typical photo, right? You're out, and you've taken this shot with your bestie. But, there's people or there's things in the background. So the idea of this is that you can take this picture and then you can erase these people and just have this really cool shot. Now, personally, I would have taken the gum out of the picture too, but that's me. But that's the concept behind it. I don't know. This is the blog. Do they actually show any others? Yeah, so you can get like, picture people out of the way that you don't know, that kind of a thing. Let me just, hey, please stop that. Thank you. Sorry, the doggy had surgery, so I have to keep an eye on him. So that's pretty cool. Now, I do want to, why is this not switching back? Go away. There we go. I do want to give you one warning here, and that is I am starting to see, which I should have expected, I'm starting to see things showing up in the press about, Magic Eraser, you can put it on all phones. Be very, very careful. It's only officially been released so far on the Pixel 6 phones. Now, I do expect that it will roll out at least to the 5s, the Google Pixel 5s. Whether or not they're going to release it as a part of Android is not clear yet. The stories that you're going to see, and you might already be seeing about, you can install it and yes, it works, those are people who are pretty techie, and they've gotten their hands on what's called the APK, which is basically the code, and they're doing what they call side loading. So instead of going to the Google Store and downloading something official, they're working around the rules and doing it a different way. There's nothing inherently wrong with an APK, right? That's how we build things and we test things. But just be aware that if you see that and somebody gives you a link, you want to be very careful, because there are also bad people out there who are going to do malware, mask it as an APK for this, and release it in the hopes of causing more damage. So just be careful. If you're going to play with it and you're not super geeky, or you're not super careful with it, or I wouldn't necessarily do it on a daily driver phone, like a phone that you rely on, because things can go wrong, and they do. So just a little safety tip as an extra here. Let's see. So Paul says, I've just taken delivery of the new Samsung Z's. Oh, the Flip. Oh, cool. Let me know what you think of that. I'm really curious. So those of you who have been around for a while know that I was hardcore Samsung Note for a very long time, until I finally had to go to Google Fi, and it was a need. Like, I had to switch to Google Fi. All of my phones have been Google Notes. I've got several of them. There's one back here. There's one here. There's several of them still floating around, and I do miss them. I miss my stylus in the worst way. There's news on that too, but so yeah, I'm curious. The Flip, the fold phones, I'm curious, right? I'm curious. I have, from a technical design standpoint, I have concerns. I'm sure that they will get it figured out at some point, but I'm curious to hear from somebody who's using it in real world. So that'll be very interesting. Oh, and John is backing me up on the yes, be careful. Yeah. It's even if you are tech, I mean, I know people have gotten burned on it, so you do want to be careful with anything that you're side loading because you never know. And sometimes it's just not worth it. But yeah, so that's interesting. I want to hear all about that, Paul, because that it's caught my eye. I had seen one of the early ones, which was not ready for prime time, and they knew that when they were first releasing it. But it sounds like they've made some progress, which is a very cool thing. Okay, so the other thing that I do want to say to folks is not that one, this one. Oh, why is that one not going away now? There we go. Okay. We are getting into the busy season for everybody, right? The holidays are coming. So don't stress out over not having ideas for your social content, okay? I created this list for myself, okay, because I didn't want that stress, right? There's enough stress to go around. So earlier in the year, I just sat down and I just made myself a list of, okay, when I can't think of anything, I'm going to go to this list and randomly pick something. I shared it with a couple of friends of mine and they liked it. So I'm like, okay, I'm making it available. It's free. So you can go to yourtechcoach.net/content ideas and have at it. Because it's not tech stuff, right? It's just general topics that anybody can use for whatever your content is. We have enough stress, like I said. Make your life easier. No cost, no strings, just putting it out there because somebody else found it helpful and I figured why not share. It's good to share. Okay, let us get to the end of this. So the headphones. So if you were an early purchaser like myself, if you pre-ordered this, we were promised that we were going to get free earbuds, which is not an insignificant thing because it's like $99 for them. I have the first Google Buds. I use them from time to time. I'm not really a big earbud person in general. But as tends to happen in this world, all of a sudden I started to get all these people contacting me who were confused because, first of all, when you were trying to buy your phone, because the Google store was so overwhelmed, like that whole process kind of fell apart. If you ended up buying your phone through the Google Fi side, it was even worse. So if you were doing it through the Google store, at first there was no mention of it, even though everybody was talking about it. Then somebody rushed into the store and updated that part of the site. And so it said, if you, want this, put the earbuds into your cart and the system will automatically credit you. So you'll get them for free. Well, that's great, except that I couldn't order through the Google store. I ended up going through the Google Fi store because I wasn't having any luck. And, it didn't matter because I couldn't get the big phone either way. But on the Google Fi side, there's not even an option to do the buds because it's just phones. There's not accessories over there. So then they came out and they're like, we know there was a lot of confusion about this. We're going to send you an email on the 28th today so that we're going to give you a code. We're going to resolve it so that you get it. It's now 8:33 p.m. on the East Coast here. No email yet. So I'm going to stay on top of that. If and when I get the information, keep an eye on my Twitter and I will put it out there for everybody. They will make good on it. This kind of stuff happens, but it caused a lot of ruckus. To make it even better, it turns out that they did a different deal in different places. So here in the US and some other places, I don't have the complete list, but it was the earbuds. So, the little wireless earbuds, you put them in your ear, you have a little case that you charge them in. However, in places like the UK and Ireland and some other places, which are escaping me at the moment, it was over-the-ear headphones. So if you're talking to somebody online and they're saying, headphones versus earbuds, that's the reason for it. It's the same process, but what they were giving away was different. I have no idea why. I mean, I'm sure that there's some logistical reason or legal reason or whatever, but the fact of the matter is, yes, the offering was different depending on where you were. And if you did not get in on the pre-order, it's already a done deal. It was solely for the pre-orders, possibly to ease the pain of ordering the pre-orders. Well, the fact that it shipped early, that was a nice bonus too. Okay, so I just wanted to cover all that because I know that is something that is floating around and causing problems for people. All right, so that's what I have. I'm going to go through, see if I missed any questions. But that's what I've got for you. I mean, it's been a day, so it is what it is. Let me just make sure. I think I caught pretty much everything. I am very curious about Paul and the foldable phone. We covered the headphone jack. No, it's not. Okay. Marcus is saying that he had to install his C-word certificate that way. Yeah. Okay. That's the type of thing that it's okay to do because that's the way that they're doing it. Um. Oh. Okay. That's interesting. So Paul's saying that on the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 3 phone, boy, the names are getting long. The battery life sucks. That's a drag. I wonder why. Is that because it's because it's got two, because that's got the two displays, right? You open it up, you get the one display, but when it's closed, there's another display. I wonder if that's why. Interesting. I'll have to read up on that. Like I said, I'm really surprised. So what are we at? We're still at 83. I'm sorry, 53. 53. But 53 from, what time did I get it yesterday? 2:30 p.m. Yeah, I'm pretty happy. And I haven't even turned off all the notifications. The thing is dinging left and right. But yeah, so there's that. Okay, so like I said, I will definitely follow up with this. If you have any questions, comments about it, you can reach out at yourtechcoach.net. Let me know if you have a topic you want me to cover. If you have a question, don't be shy. Go ahead and let me know. That's where most of the good shows come from. If you want to know what's coming down the pike, the mailing list is there for you. No cost. I just use it to keep people informed, so you can go ahead and do that. Other than that, I'm going to go back to playing with my phone, and I hope everybody has a great weekend. It's Halloween weekend here, so I'm very excited about that. That's the only holiday I care about. That is my favorite. I never got to loading my my overlays, but oh well. I have them for next year. All right, everybody. Thanks so much, and I hope you're having a good one. Bye.